Hey, it's Tyson again with Mod Call Digital, and in this tutorial, we're going to add a few things to our CRM. One of those things, well, first of all, we're going to work with a user view again. If you recall, last time we have from our last one created users here. That was about 2 tutorials ago, and then we created individual views for specific users, so that we could go in, we could change details about them, submit those details, so on and so forth. Though, of course, these here, we don't have these linked out to that particular user view. Otherwise, we would go like this, user slash 1. That's how our routing would work. Okay. All right. So we're going to deal with that first and foremost. So let's go, first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to our users view. I'll close this out here. So we'll go resources, views, admin, and then we're going to go to users in order to set that up. Now, down here, we created a for each statement. Okay. Within here, we're going to want to link out to that specific user. So that's not too difficult here. Let's we'll go into our routes first of all. Okay, we have to see the individual user. We of course have to pass admin user / ID, but let's name this route so it's actually easier. For us. And we'll name this route admin.user. Perfect. But what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pass this ID variable through as well. So the way we can do that here is we'll do admin.user. We'll go back to our users.blade.php. I'm going to put an anchor tag in here. We're going to go with route. And then our route name again was admin.user. And the way we pass our variable through here is we'll do an apostrophe, we'll do some square braces, and then whatever the name of that variable is, we will pass through. What is up with this? Why does this look a little bit odd? No, that's fine. So we know the variable name is going to be the ID, and that will be linked to whatever basically the user ID is. So in this case, we'll do user dash ID. Okay, and then that will pass that along for us properly there. Now within our anchor tag, close that out. So highlight this again. I'll create some more curly braces. Okay. Okay, so we should know this works if we go back to where we're serving up our application. We'll go to users again. You see in the bottom left there, you'll notice it says admin user 1, admin user 2, user 3, user 4, and if we click on it, all this should basically work now. Okay, John Doe, Jane Doe. If we want to edit that, we can definitely edit that there. Okay. All right. Perfect. Okay, so with that out of the way, that kind of ties up basically, linking into the user profile or to the user view itself. The next thing I want to do is we have the ability there to basically lock them out of their account by changing their active status to nothing here. So is the user active? We would simply change that to no, and then we update the user details from there. But what we need to do is we need to create some kind of a check in there when they log in to see if they are active. And if they're a normal user, they're not active, then what we'll do is we'll just simply display a message on the screen that says something to the effect of, hey, you're not active, or your account is not currently active. Contact your system administrator, whatever the case might be in there. So, all right. So let's do that. First thing we're going to do, we're going to go to our middleware to get that done. So if you remember, our middleware is, we go HTTP middleware. We're going to create middleware, and actually the best way to create middleware is to use one of our artisan commands. Okay, we want to do make middleware, and then the name of the middleware, we're going to say basically check active. Okay, perfect. So that shows up in here. And basically what we want to do is we want to use an if statement, and we want to check if the auth user, all right, is active, and you can remember that we have that is active field in our database. We'll go back to MySQL here to show you how that works, and we'll do, I'll describe the table. Okay, is active. Okay, if they are active, it's going to show 1. If they're not active, it's going to show 0, basically. So if is active equals 0, then we want to kick them out. We want to be like, hey, get lost. We don't need you here. And the way we're going to do that is basically with our auth class in here. So actually, I don't want to do that. I want to make sure that it's not equal to 1. Then we're going to get rid of them. Okay. Now the reason I'm going to do 1 is it's not like we just have a choice of tinyInt of 0 or 1. We can have other values in there as well. So basically, if they're not active, then that's what we want to do from here. And then basically what we'll do is we'll go auth and kick them out. Easy enough. So that should work just fine for us now. Now we want to add this to. What do I want to add this to specifically? I want to add this to not my users controller, admin controllers. I want to add this to the home controller, basically. With the way we structure this. So well, first of all, we actually have to add it to our kernel. The way we're going to add it to the kernel is in route middleware. Okay, the last one we added was is admin. In this case, we want to add in is active. So that's basically going to be the name of our middleware there. So app /http /middleware /check active. Okay, perfect. And now we'll go over to our home controller. We'll use this middleware, all right, is active. Okay, and where we can test this out is basically by logging out and logging in. So let's get a look at our users first of all. So we'll just refresh this. So we know when we did our database seeder that we created 3 users, and all 3 users have they have the password of password. So that's easy enough for us here. Let's go to users. So we got John Doe. So let's do John at modcall.com. So we're going to exit our application here. We're going to do John modcall.com. This isn't actually going to work for me here. Yeah, is active. App middleware auth not found. Okay, so first problem we run into here is and you guys know this is not my first time doing this, making this mistake, is adding our class up here. Okay, so that needs to be done. Now that's done for us. Okay, so you can see here it says basically you're logged, we're logged in now. Now let's log out and let's change John Doe's status. So t@modcall.com, because t@modcall.com is the administrator. We'll log in. Never. Okay. Let's go to users. Let's go check on John Doe here. We'll edit his profile and we'll set that to no. Okay, what happened here? Given named route. Okay. So problem I actually ran into here is it's not a given named route. That's not proper there. So it's actually in our form for editing. I don't actually think, I'm looking back now, I don't actually think we created like no, we didn't. Okay. So I'm getting way ahead of myself here. We need to create a function. We need to create a function of update in order to update our form. The way we do that here is we'll run our validation as well on that form. It's going to look a lot like this. Except we're not going to have password in here. We're just going to have name, email, role. There's something else that we have in that actual form. So user is active. And what did we name that one? Let's take a look. I'm going to increase the size of this. No per main. Not sidebar content. Then the edit details modal, row, offset 3. It's in the card body. This is our form. So our problem right here is we're not actually sending this to any update sort of function functionality on our page. But I'm going to pull in here. What is going to be the name of that select is the user active? Label for is active. So name is active. All right, perfect. So name is active. So we want to go is active, and we want to basically just say, hey, this is required. Okay. One other thing. Okay, so let's go back. Let's open up our form for the controller. So if we go here, we go components, forms. No, that's not in there actually. That would be the user.blade.php. And so what we need to do here is we need to basically spoof to send for the actual verb to send then basically an update verb or the name. So I mean you have your get, post, you'll have put, you'll have delete. There's some other ones in there too, but we'll use put for this. So we'll spoof that now. Okay. So this will actually send as a proper, as a put. Now let's go over to our routes here. Post, we're going to create a new route, which is basically going to be put. To get there, it's going to be admin/user. Oops. And then Actually, let's do this. Admin/user/update. Okay, and then in our users controller, we're going to use our update function we just created, and then the name for all of this for the actual routing is going to be basically admin.user.update. Okay, let's go back to our form. Let's put our route in there of, oops. Route admin.user.update. Okay. One other field I'm going to enter in here is going to be the user's ID. This is going to be a hidden value. Okay, and we're going to say name equals user ID. Actually, we'll just go ID in this situation. And we'll go value is going to be, I have to get that fixed. I don't know why it keeps doing this to me. The value is going to be user -ID. Okay. All right. Perfect. And then I also want to go with I want to go with disabled. I want to go with disabled because I don't want anybody to go in and be able to change that value on the back end. Am I happy with that? Yeah, everything looks good there. We're going to go back to our users controller where it says validate. We're going to put ID in here. We're going to put required. And I think we actually have to take email out. Let's see what that form looks like. No, we're going to leave email in there. All right, perfect. Okay. Okay. It's back here, put user controller update name admin.user.update. So now we'll go back to our users controller. First thing we're going to do is we're going to retrieve the user. We'll retrieve the user here. And we'll go basically user find, this is eloquent we're using again. And then we're going to want to use request ID in this case. Okay, perfect. So in order to update this user, just like we stored the value here, we're going to do the same thing. So we're just going to change these values and then save, and then we're going to redirect to our proper routes that way. So simple enough. So we'll say user name, because that was one of the ones on there, and we'll say that's equal to request dash name user email. It's going to be equal to request email. Role is going to be equal to role, and then user dash is active. It's going to equal request active. In the future, like one thing we can do, this is pretty basic here, but one thing we can do is we can actually start changing these particular values individually, with, say, some kind of an AJAX call. And I'll give you an example of what that'll look like in the future. Let's close this out here. Close this out. So instead of, say, having this form pop up, we would change the items individually. We could set something like a double click where it then hides the name, and it puts in an actual input that we can then submit using AJAX to update everything. The advantage over doing that, say over a long form like this, is maybe we put something in here and we accidentally select something we're not supposed to elsewhere, and then it ends up updating all of it. So that's one way we can make our application a lot more user-friendly that way. But in this case, we're just going to leave it as is. You're going to see how this functionality works, and then later in the course, I will put out a section on setting up some API, basically setting up an API for use from your domain. So not, say, from outside your domain or another application, basically. Okay, so here we're going to go user save. That's going to update those values. Okay, we're happy about that. Return, we're going to redirect them to admin /user/ and then we want to put in the user ID. So, okay. All right. So you see how that works? User ID. User ID, of course, if we go back to web, we're going to see that's our user ID is basically what shows up here. So it's going to take us to that, and it'll show us basically the updated values there. There's some other things I might want to do, like why don't we basically send a success message? Okay. Happy with that. Let's go out to our user view. Let's put that message in here. Let's put that message in here at the top. It's an if statement. And we want to check to see if session success is there. And then what did we use? What did we use for our other one? Under users, alert dash success. Okay. All right. Then we want to use session success. All right. Okay, so we should be good there. So once this submits to this page and everything's updated, then we're going to see the new information in there. Okay. And in here, just to basically reiterate, we set up some basic validation in here. We're referencing or pulling from the model that particular user out of our database. Okay, this ID, and then we're basically changing all the values that we receive in our put request. All right, so request is active. Then we save it, then we redirect it back to that page with something that says success. So this should work just fine now. So let's reset this. No errors so far. We'll edit. Oh, you know what? Always something. Let's go to user. I have this as disabled, but I also need to have it as hidden. And actually what I'm going to do here is go back to users controller. And then go user request. And okay, so let's change it to John Doe 1. Details there. Okay, so that came through correctly as a port request. And we know that it went, we know that it actually called the right method within our controller. So we're good there. Otherwise that wouldn't have flashed on there. Okay. So let's go back. We'll refresh this again. Let's edit this. Let's change this to the user being active as not active. Okay. We're still defaulting to yes. Let's go back to our form. Let's check out what is associated with that. Let's pull up this here. Active main content. Edit details modal, row, column, div, body, form is active. The value should be 0. Oh, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, in our users controller. Okay, let's open this up again. Let's make sure that that's actually coming through correctly. So we'll submit this with no again. And let's go to request. So is active is showing a 0. So what's our problem then? Request is active, calling that correctly. We're able to change the name. Changing the name isn't a problem at this point. Let's say John Doe 1. Okay, so that's not changing anything in there at all for us. So where am I making my mistake? Is it because I have this here as disabled? You know what? I think that is the problem. Try this again here. No, that is not what's going on. Okay, well let's go to our. Let's see if we're actually pulling any errors, because that could be our issue as well. Is we might have some errors on there. Okay. So we'll put our errors basically up here. We'll do another if statement. Errors, and then okay, let's try this again. The email has already been taken. Okay, so that's our problem right there. No problem. So it's in our actual validation. That's not an issue. We'll take this out. Under updates, we will take this out. Okay. This might create other issues in the future, like if we try to change the email, to another email in the system. So let's make a comment here, okay? Let's manually check the database to see if there are any errors in the, if there are any emails that it matches in the database other than this user's email. I'm not going to deal with this. I'm not going to worry about this right now for changing this, because on a small scale, this really isn't going to make a huge, so it's not going to be a huge deal, right? So, all right. Okay, so we'll take that out. Now everything should be good. Let's resubmit in here. We'll go edit. And you can see I have session spelled incorrectly there. Okay. Always something. Like I would probably say like 80-90% of the time it's just some spelling error that ends up creating errors for me when I'm building a project. So I mean that's my go-to. First thing I look at is the syntax correct? If the syntax is correct, then I'll move more towards the logic or something that way. That's the recommendation I give, because like especially when you're first learning, say those first like that first year or whatever, it's most of your mistakes are going to be syntactical, especially when you're following courses like this or tutorials like this. So, okay, so now we should be good. Well, okay, John Doe 1. So let's change that here. We'll just say John Doe. Okay, successfully updated the user. Perfect. That's session is kicking out. Now, why is that not showing? See, and again, the way it's spelled, like 9 times out of 10, that's how that feels. Okay. So let's change this user to no for being active. Successfully updated the user. Okay, now we have styling issues. Tons of fun. Let's get rid of our errors in here. Okay, let's change the user to active. Successfully updated the user. Where is my issue? My issue is right here. I think it's right here. Okay, let's make that user. Okay, that's better. But now this needs to be alert. That was my problem. Okay, we'll try changing it one more time. Successfully updated the user. Well, we'll have to play around with this. I mean, like instead of doing that, actually, let's do this. Let's put this just before the card itself. I'll show you can see what I did there. I should be a little nicer and not go so fast. All right. Try this again. Successfully updated the user. Okay, so I'm happy with that. That's not that does not bother me at all. Okay, so now currently this user is not active, which means so far what we've done is we've built in our form for updating. We've gone here into the route. We've created a put request. Don't forget, you always, if you're not doing a get or a post request, you always have to spoof your form using a built-in method with Laravel here. Okay, so your token is going to go here, and then your method is going to go in here as well. Okay. What else? What we want to do is in our logged in, actually not logged in. Let's go log out. What I want to display here on the login screen. So John at modcall.com. So what I want to display here on the login screen when John logs in is basically an error that gets spit out that says, hey, your account isn't active, contact your administrator. Okay, so the way we can do that is I'm going to close this, I'm going to close this, I'm going to go over to that form, within our view. So it's not in the, so it's admin, it's in the login. And then I want to do, where do I want to do this? Right above the card there for our login form. I'm going to go if session, spell it correctly this time. And let's see here, not active. Okay. Dot alert dash danger. Okay. And then we will basically spit out what that message is by going session and then not active. Okay. See, again, another potential error there. Let's see here. We don't have any users controller. We got to go back to our home controller. We need to go into our check active here. Login. Okay, then that was going to be not active, basically. And then the message is okay. Okay, so let's see what this does for us here. Now we know John is no longer active. And so let's see what works out for us. No, something's not going right here. Auth logout. Okay, so I can't actually send that over with that, which is fine. There's another way we can do this, so and that is by doing a manual redirect. We'll say return. We'll basically redirect to the login page. And then we'll do that with our message here of, what was that again? That was not active. All right. Okay. Yeah, that should work for us here. So let's go back. I'm gonna do John at modcall.com. Auth login. Okay, actually, you know what? Let's not go auth login. Let's go. We'll just put in a /. A / should be just fine. Your account is not currently active. Okay, so that spits out correctly. I mean, we know that works. Okay. What is happening here is, this is what I believe is happening. First of all, this logout method is it logs you out, and then as a next action, it is sending you to the login page. but the login page itself, between logging you out, sending you that function, and going to the login page, it erases that flashed message that's in session. So there's some other ways we could do this. I'm not going to focus on it too much right now. We'll do that as we go to actually clean up, say our. We'll go as we go to clean up basically how things look and the whole user experience and things. So let's go back to let's do this. All right, we'll just say message not returning, likely because the flashed session data is lost between logout and redirecting to our login form from the built-in auth methods. Okay, that might not make sense to you here, but I'm going to write that down because when I go back and I review all this stuff, I'm going to want to know where I'm at. So this is just good practice to leave notes. And I'll be honest with you, I get myself into such big trouble when I don't leave notes. Especially when I'm working on some of my larger projects, for sure that way. But otherwise, we're happy with this. We know that if the person's not active, they can't log in. Let's just test this out one other way. We'll log in as the authenticated user here. We'll edit this in our administrative panel. We'll go user is active, yes. Okay, successfully updated the user. Now let's log out of here. Let's go John at, oops. Okay, you're logged in. Okay, so this is really good. We have it authenticated. Make sure the user is active. Now we can do other things too, like automatically when we create a user at this point, it defaults to them being active. But what we want to do is, instead of just blocking them if they're not active, like what we want to do is we want to give them a token so they're actually able to activate their account once it's set up by the administrator, which is very important in this case. All right, so we know that works. So I'm pretty happy with that. Password for a password. What else? What were some of the other things I wanted to get done here? I'm sitting about 43, 44 minutes. So set up a placeholder for standards to display their credentials when they log in, and that's all for now. We could do that with simply by creating a card. So why don't we go out to, don't need login, auth admin, go to reviews, and then home.blade.php. You are logged in. Okay, perfect. Okay, this is good. You're logged in, and right here, actually just below it, we got card body, card header. Let's create another card class, and we'll just display the information of the actual user. So .card-header. All right, and we'll just say something that says like welcome auth user name, and in the card body, we'll just display some things here like h5 times 3. We're just going to go, we'll see, auth user dash name. Now the reason I'm going to put all this information in here is I'm going to want to be able to make sure that our users at this point, when they're not an administrator, we're going to be able to see what's assigned to them, things like that. Because the next thing that we're going to work on is going to be setting up our prospects. Because at this point, we want to be able to add prospects to our CRM. First and foremost, we want to be able to add prospects from, say, a form on your website where they submit their information, and then we can either do automatic assignment, for example, or we can do we do automatic assignment. We can set it up so the administrator can assign them, or we can set it up so that the individuals can basically pull from a list of prospects and then reach out and make those phone calls that way. So we got email, role. Yeah, we'll just print out role here. That'll be fine. Okay. So let's log out once more. Let's log in as John at logcall.com. Okay, you're logged in. Welcome, John. Welcome, John Doe. I'm just going to add margin top. Okay, so that looks a lot better now. So other things we'll add in here are going to be like, you currently have X amount of prospects, for example, that way. So, and let's double check that we can't access administrator content. So let's go admin/users. Nope, it doesn't let us. Okay, so that's good. So the reason I entered that in to see if it works for admin is I'm just want to verify that my actual middleware works. So far when we log in, we check to make sure the person's active. And if they're not active, then we log them out. And then we check to make sure that they're an administrator if they try to access administrator content. And so if we go to, say, users controller, no, not users controller, we have it in our routes here. We run that right here, is admin. Okay. So that should make sense. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, then definitely let me know, and then I can clarify in the comments there. So yeah, all right. So we're pretty good. I mean, we got a lot of this stuff here done already. We added is active requirement to the middleware. We set up a placeholder for standard users to display their credentials when they log in. Okay, we just finished setting that up. And we tested to see that they're redirected when they try to access the admin content. I think I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it right there for as far as this tutorial goes. When we come back, when I do the next tutorial, what I'm going to do is we'll set up the new database for the prospects, which will include things like creating a model for them, making the migration, and then in the migration, adding this information. Setting up the database theater. So I mean, this is stuff that you've seen before, and so now we're really fortifying basically what you're learning here as we go to create more things. And I mean, even from here, you might say, hey, with what I know already, after we do this, you can then as a pattern start to create your own controllers, so on and so forth. So your own controllers, your own models, your own migrations. Your own middleware, things like that. So, but yeah, no, we're looking forward to this. This is where, in my opinion, we've kind of gotten rid of all of that standard stuff that you're going to do over and over again when you get a project set up like this. And now we're really starting to add our own unique functionality to this particular CRM for its use case. All right, hope that makes sense. Got any questions, leave them in the comments below. If you like this tutorial, please leave a like and feel free to subscribe. Take care.